Hey, Access. So unfortunately didn't have much time these past weeks, so I've tried to make this one a challenge and mix it with the smallest amount of time. Still took me 8 to 9 hours though. That's cool. You know, sometimes they come together really quickly and sometimes they don't. The ones that come together quickly for me are the ones when I have a template that the song sort of fits within. But I think with a track like this, the tones are super fat because of the tape and all the EQ and, the tones are super fat because of the tape and because of the Class A mic pre's and all the mics and the huge room, blah, blah, blah. All of that stuff makes it probably not quite fit into a generic template for me, because the generic template is probably built around, you know, a more digital world and a smaller drum room. So if it's taken you 8 or 9 hours to get it to a place you're happy with, that doesn't surprise me because, you know, it's a little bit more of a challenge, even though I think it's going to be easier in some ways to mix because, you know, there's parts that work with each other and the tones were super fat. It might be a little bit of a curveball at first. So anyway, excited to hear it. Takes were so good anyway, could have balanced them, but I pushed the mix a step further with some volume and EQ and automation, thanks to a tip about EQ automation, Warren. Yeah, I love doing EQ automation. Some work on verbs mainly, little phaser on electric guitar, cool. Spring verb for this one. Tim said in a video it was legal again. Tremolo on the Wurlitzer and barely used the sample, so overall nothing fancy. Hope it sounds good to you and I didn't miss too many details. I'm really slow. No, you're not. Took me, I think, 3 days to mix Love 3 Times by Aerosmith. 3 days. May the force be with you.
Walking down the street, said there's a woman I love to meet. Penny for your part, you look like my type. She said, hold out your wallet, boy, you'll do just fine. Moon's coming up now, they're holding hands. Stars are coming up now too, looking like a little romance. Bought wine and roses just for the show. Don't rush me, honey.
So I'm going, I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm going between mono and stereo. I really like the mix, I think it's great. I think I might be hearing...
They walk on to his pad, he's got quite the place.
I might want to hear less... I might want to hear more snare from the snare mics, because I feel like the hi-hats, the snare in the hi-hat is pulling it ever so slightly right. Maybe the same with the overheads. This is a good mix. It's a really good mix. So try something with your overheads here. Try putting a compressor on the overheads just to side chain to the snare, just to pull a little bit out of it. And get that hi-hat. I think the hi-hat's in a good place. It's not overly loud. Just give me a little bit more of the live snare, the actual snare itself, because it feels slightly pulled to the right by the hi-hat. So I'm in mono here. It's great down the center. Ever so slightly right heavy. That doesn't really matter, but I just want a little bit more presence to the snare. A really good mix though, 8 or 9 hours on it, perfectly fine.
So sorry, honey, but I just can't live so bland. Took all his gold. Said thanks for the
I like the treatment on the acoustic.
I like green. She hit the road. I see the road.
I think sometimes what happens, YN, I use samples a little bit, is to just bring that snare forward a little bit, even if it's not dominant. And get me a little bit more 350, 400 out of those toms, a tiny bit more. They're a little cardboard boxy from the way they were recorded, to be honest. I think I've noticed that on a bunch of the mixes. Great mix again though, I mean really good balances. It's really subtle stuff that I would suggest. Great stuff. I'll talk a little bit more at the end, but it's about overall perception with everybody's.